This is for Larry. Some basics to get you started using that new wok of yours. And starting with a piece of chicken. This is a boneless, skinless boob. And the first thing we're going to do with it is cut it into fork size, bite size, chopstick size pieces. And you can cube it or you can slice it. I'm going to slice this one into about 1/4 inch thick chunks. And then cut them into strips. This is actually easier done if the chicken is still partially frozen. Since it's not, it helps if you have a sharp knife. It helps if you have a sharp knife one way or the other. The general principle is to try to make them all roughly equal sizes. It's not critical what size, just that they all be pretty much the same. And small enough that you don't have to cut them when you're trying to eat the stuff. The size you make them can depend strictly on what mood you're in. One thing to keep in mind is that the smaller you make the pieces, the more likely you will be to get one in each forkful. An advantage to keeping them small is also that they will cook faster. That will do. Now you can go ahead and cook the chicken as it is, or you can make it a little fancier and doctor it by making up a little marinade. And since that one that I used last time was so impressive, I'm going to do a variation of it for this. Starting with 2 tablespoons of that maple syrup. No Aunt Jemimas. Ooh. Now about the same amount of soy sauce. I am quite literally making this up as I go along, and I'm almost out of soy sauce. Yikes. Now about a teaspoon of ginger, more or less. Fresh if you've got it. And for ease and simplicity, instead of using real garlic, about, a teaspoon or so of granulated garlic. This will actually make it easier to make a good sauce out of it once everything is cooked. Now I'm adding about a teaspoon, again, or so, of lemon zest. A couple of teaspoons of lemon juice. And a splash of cayenne pepper, just to add a little interest to it. And for the pièce de résistance, or sock dolloper, about a teaspoon of oyster sauce. Alright, I know, quit playing with it. Now just mix this all around. Until it's pretty thoroughly combined. And then I'm putting all the pieces into a Ziploc. Into which, stop that, I will pour the marinade. Seal it up. Squish most of the air out of it. And squish it all around so that all the chicken is thoroughly coated with it. Or until you're tired of screwing around with it. And then throw it in the fridge for at least 2 or 3 hours, maybe more. Now, supper time is approaching. This stuff has been marinating for about 5.5 hours. And it's time to start putting it all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is strain as much of the marinade as possible out of the chicken. Come out of there, you. I have ulterior motives for this. What I'm going to do is use it as the basis for the sauce. And since there's some of it still in the bag, I'm pouring about a half a cup of chicken stock into it. To get all the last of the goodies out of the bag. And then I pour that in. The goal is to have about 3/4 of a cup of liquid. So I'll add more chicken stock to it to bring it up to that amount. Come on, you guys. And while that's draining, I've assembled my other ingredients of choice for this one. Your choice of veggies is limited only by your imagination. I've thin sliced an onion, I have some snow peas, some fresh broccoli, and some carrots that I've slivered. Your only real requirement here is you want all of them to cook at about the same time. So you don't have to put one in and then wait for it and put another one in and wait for it. They should all just go in together and make life nice and simple, which is what these are going to do. Don't do that, slob. And I'll also be throwing in some water chestnuts and some bean sprouts, just because I have some. Now over here at ground zero, next operation is to heat up the wok. And I already have a couple of tablespoons of peanut oil in it. Okay. Now this all happens over fairly high heat. And you want to move it around pretty much constantly. You flip it from the center out toward the side. It's cooler up here, it's hotter down here. So this is where you cook. Up here is where it rests. Keep the heat up and keep it moving. And this chicken, in pieces this size, is going to cook pretty quickly. I'm only going to give these a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to start adding veggies. The onions in there first. Give them a minute to soften a little. Always keep it moving. Add in the broccoli and the carrots. Just for a minute. Now, add the marinade and the chicken stock back in. And it's basically done except for cooking and thickening the sauce. Now to add in the cornstarch that I was going to add earlier and forgot. This will thicken it. And at this point the heat can come down. The snow peas can go in. And the bean sprouts, as many as you want. There are no rules here. Get off of there. Well, there's one rule. You have to get off of the fork. That looks about right. Well, okay. Yum. And the water chestnuts. Just for a nice accent. And just mix them all together. And call it done. Serve it over rice, or with rice on the side, as you choose. and dig in. There is nothing further to say, except maybe yum. It's good stuff, Larry, and real easy to do once you get the hang of it. Cheers.